Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barrens Chat podcast. I'm Sod, and with me tonight is my co-host Guck. This is a podcast about World of Warcraft by two guys who play. Guck, I'd love to give accurate information right now, but it looks like we got Ardenweald on the alpha. I think I moved last week, so I didn't pay attention to streams, and you and I don't have alpha access. So I can't really give an accurate assumption on that, but if it is true, it means we're one zone away from officially being in the beta stage of the process. The Blizzard postponed the developer and executive producer announcement scheduled for tomorrow or today for those of you listening to it. So we'll see that at a future date. And I mean, I had a pretty good week in WoW. How was your week game-wise? Wow, what did you play? When are you coming back to Azeroth? What's going on?
Yeah, man, it's going to be a while until I return to Azeroth. I think right now I'm pretty set on returning when we get either AQ in Classic or the pre-patch for Shadowlands in Retail. It's just, that's just the way it is, man. I find it hard to get into Retail because leveling is apparently going to be much faster, more streamlined, better in Shadowlands, so I don't really want to take on leveling up in Alt. But I also don't want to play the main kind of character gameplay right now because I'm going to be let down. What I want to do is raid Mythic kind of in its completion, but I don't have enough time. I'm not committed to the systems. I've been out for a while, so I don't think, I don't think I'm going to get what I want out of it. And then the next thing that you would want is okay, Mythic Dungeons and running up pluses as high as you can, but I already did that for all these dungeons earlier when it was current. And now the thought of playing the catch-up game just to start doing that again, even though it's I'm doing it for just a sub-level of nostalgia for earlier back when I enjoyed the patch. It's tough, I just can't reason it.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, if anybody out there is on a break and maybe trying to come back and do endgame content, Tuesday starts the battle for Azeroth dungeon events, so you get bonus loot out of the dungeons, and you also get gear for completing 4 dungeons. Those dungeons can be Mythic Plus. So if you need a gear in Alt or you want to maybe try a new main, pretty easy to get a gear. As always, the Essence catch-up mechanic kind of sucks if you don't already have them unlocked, which, guys like Guck don't. So probably not worth investing your time in. But, I had a pretty successful week again, sold a few keys, made a little bit of gold. I did a couple 15s. I got a lot of stuff done before my big move. And then after my move, it was basically just getting set up in the new place. I actually broke one of my monitors in the move. It didn't make it. And I also don't really have a good spot to set up a studio mic right now, or the studio mic that I had. So I'm working on solutions for that. So if I sound different or, there's any tech issues going on, just bear with us this week while I try to figure that out. So what games are you playing right now, Guck?
Honestly, I haven't been doing much outside of Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. This game came out probably a month ago, maybe a little more than a month ago. And yeah, I've just been playing it super hard. They keep updating the game. They added mods, so if you ever played Warband or any of the game, I think that's basically it. There's Mount and Blade Vanilla, Mount and Blade Warband, and then Mount and Blade 2. They're all essentially the same game, but the community makes these really kick-ass maps. The battles are sick. The multiplayer is actually pretty sick. So I've really just been playing that. The gameplay is very similar to Chivalry or Mordhau. If you've ever played those games, it's kind of like choose where you swing, block, standard kind of rock, paper, scissors combat stuff. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really... when I play a game now, these days, I'm playing something that I can pick up and put down, at a whim, that requires no prior investment and is just as fun without that prior investment. So I'm playing differently. Like honestly, through most of the quarantine, I've been getting a lot of my entertainment from listening to podcasts or watching stuff on YouTube or Netflix. Like that's really my go-to now, just because I haven't been vibing with any games lately.
Yeah. So I have like a speculative thing to say. I feel like Blizzard might listen to our podcast. Now, obviously, I don't think they do because you and I still don't have alpha access, which is a little ridiculous to be honest. But so like, there's things that we've talked about in past weeks. One being the Torghast situation, which we brought up. I was concerned because obviously it is like mandatory content essentially, right? You do Torghast to get your legendary crafted items, which means that like, if you're somebody that's going to spend 12 hours in there a day or like, like 30 hours a week in Torghast and you get extra legendary crafting materials, then like you're obviously way farther ahead than somebody who, has a full-time job but still wants to be somewhat competitive on like a PvE or PvP perspective in the game. Now, it was announced or at least like said that the legendary crafting things, Torghast is going to have two modes. There's one mode where it's like a true rogue-like situation where like you go in, you can get lost, you could be in there for hours, just kind of doing your thing. And then the legendary crafting mode, it looks like there's going to be a cap on it, and you do 6 floors and or 6 blocks, and you're done and you get your legendary crafted materials, and that's all you could do essentially. It's like 30 minutes, like just say it's like a 30-minute or so time soak, similar to what a Horrific Vision is now. So I think that is actually really cool because it opens up the game mode for the roguelike, and like a lot of people like yourself are very into that, Guck. Like obviously I'm sure you're looking forward to it a lot. I might dabble with it. There's going to be cosmetic rewards in there, so I think that's like a really, I don't know, like they've obviously listened to the community a ton, and this is like a huge update and it's something I'm pumped for because I was really nervous because I don't want to commit that much time to. I know you can do it in group play, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to do it solo, and I don't want to commit that much time to it. So for me, I thought that was awesome news. I don't know how you feel about it, Gok. I'm sure you're just as happy as I am because it means you can do your mandatory stuff and then just kind of get lost in this new game mode inside of WoW.
Yeah, and honestly, that was what I wanted the most out of this. I'm hoping that the art team continues to knock it out of the park, and the cosmetic rewards that we get from playing that kind of side mission, whatever you want to think about it, it's kind of the other mode outside of the main mode. If the rewards for that are good, I'm going to be so fucking happy because I'm going to spend a ton of time doing that. Like I plan on right now, just based on the way the classes are shaking out, rolling both my Death Knight and Monk with the intent to keep them up to snuff for Mythic rating. And then also my not my Death Knight, my Demon Hunter for DPS off-spec tanking, just for like key stuff, for having fun as DPS, stuff like that. So that's 3 characters that I plan on enjoying running through Torghast in. This is a type of game that I'm really into. Before this, there is a game that I have been vibing with. I haven't played it as much lately, but Risk of Rain 2 is a super solid game. And the fact that I'm basically going to get Risk of Rain 2, but inside of WoW, and the rewards are going to be cosmetic, which was probably the best part of the Mage Tower, right? You got the unique cosmetic and you got to flex on people who understood where it came from. So yeah, like I'm really excited about this. I think the idea of removing the timers from the situation is a little bit of a, I think it's like kind of a nerf to the system to appeal to the casual player. I think most casual players enjoy the game. They enjoy taking it slow. So I think in one part it's going to appease them. And then I heard another idea that this is something that kind of came from the mythic, the method tier players who are complaining about, not being able to push 100+ floors or whatever it was, because they were running out of time or something like that. So there are interpretations of getting rid of the timer on both sides, that it was gotten rid of for the top 1% of players, or it was gotten rid of for the casuals. But either way, Torghast is a living, breathing system that will potentially be static on launch, but it might even be something they are willing to adjust after launch. I'm really just pleased to see Blizzard be this responsive. I think this will translate into the live version of the game, and they will hopefully continue to be responsive, not just in alpha and beta. But yeah, I mean, this is a good sign for Torghast. Regardless of what you think about it, the fact that they listened to the community and they made changes, and now they're probably going to look for a second batch of feedback. It's a good thing, not just for Torghast, but for Shadowlands as a whole.
Yeah, and I don't know your opinion on this, but like I feel like there's like this saying that's been going around, and it's like, oh, who cares? It's all about the 1% players. Like they just have to do extra work. But it's like, you know, it's 2020 and all this information is available, and like people become meta slaves, right? Like I would say that I am very much a meta slave. I want to min max. Like, you're probably not as much of a meta slave as me, but like you also play like a different role, right? Like you like to tank, so I guess you can kind of get away with being slightly off meta in that. But like the top 1%, if it's not good for them and they're not like running high keys in the MDI, or like maybe they're not taking certain classes in their raid comps, like there's a reason for that, and that trickles down into the community because of the availability of the information. And it's going to be the same thing with Torghast, right? Or covenants, like we said, or the spirit binds, like all that stuff's going to trickle down from the top 1%, and it's going to affect the entire community. And I think it's a good thing to see that they're getting away, and they're making this more approachable for a casual player, and like it's like less punishing, because like obviously those top streamers that are going to have like their legendaries unlocked really fast, or would have if it was based on like time spent in Torghast, obviously that's less of a big deal now, and like that's huge. And another reason why I think that maybe Blizzard was listening to us is because we have an official WoW Classic PvP event, sponsored by Blizzard. It is a 10v10, so it's more of an MMO PvP event, and there is a small prize pool, especially given the size of Blizzard and how big WoW Classic is, or how big we think it is. We don't know sub numbers, but nonetheless, it is a classic 10v10 Warsong Gulch PvP tournament. $4,000 prize pool in each region for, I would assume, the team, probably not individual players, but still, I think an awesome ad, and kind of gives you a WoW Classic esports. That's a pretty big update going forward. That was just announced today. So you're going to look for the EU signups on the 18th of June, with the qualifier on the 20th and 21st, and then North American signups on the 25th of June, or they close on the 25th of June. And then the qualifier is on the 27th and 28th, with the finals being on the 4th of July for Europe and the 5th of July for North America. I can't wait to watch this personally. Like, I think, I know the Arena World Championship has its place, but it's like 3v3, and I kind of don't like that PvP's balanced around that. And I feel like the gameplay of WoW Classic is like almost perfectly designed for like 10v10, maybe, like, maybe not perfectly designed for it, but really cool to see a MMO PvP event with like a 10v10 and see which guild takes it down.
Yeah, I would say that in Classic, a 10v10 setup is more, it's more supported by the variety of the classes. So I think when you have 10 spots and you have classes that are as varied as they are in Classic, it does give you a really wide range of options. There's a ton of different possibilities there with how you approach it. So yeah, that's going to be really fun to watch. I think the Summer Bowl, the Classic WoW Summer Bowl, right, which is going to be in Warsong Gulch. I'm cool with that. I think that it's going to be like one of the highlights of WoW Classic. Like when we look back on WoW Classic, I think people are going to talk about a few things. They're definitely going to talk about the launch. They're going to talk about layering. They're going to talk about queues. I think people will probably talk about their first time raiding the old raids, but probably not so much the grind. I think the classic grind wasn't something that anyone really found rewarding or refreshing. People are going to talk about the start of Phase 2 when we got the honor system and people were just farming HKs out in the open world. People are going to talk about that. They're going to talk about the classic Duelers League. It seems like right now there is there's a little bit of any type of PvP that you want to watch if you're into big events, right? We've got the classic Duelers League. We've got the Summer Bowl, which is a 10 on 10. We've got the standard WoW PvP, which is usually 3 on 3 stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of content out there. With Classic, this is, I think, going to end up, definitely being one of the cornerstones of the Classic experience. So make sure you guys watch this live. It's gonna be something cool.
Yeah, and I think too this is huge for Classic in general, like as far as content creation goes or like streaming, because you know that you're gonna see a lot of the big name WoW Classic streamers, especially like maybe get into this, like maybe you could see some scrims on Twitch or just overall just like people practicing, messing around with comps. Maybe see some new people emerge on the scene. I think like overall and just like in general, just to give like Classic WoW some flavor, I think this was an awesome decision and way to go Blizzard. And hopefully it gets like some pretty good traction as an event and you can see that prize pool go higher and just show that like a WoW Classic esport is worth investing in. I think that would be awesome for the game and the community as a whole.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't expect there to be much investment beyond the kind of low level that they're doing now, just because, I mean, we've already gotten emails about Classic Burning Crusade that's probably on the horizon, So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what Blizzard even does with Classic. Are they going to have vanilla and TBC running side by side? Is it all going to be TBC? We don't know yet. So we'll see. But yeah, maybe in general, having success in the kind of WoW Classic scene would entirely translate over to TBC, because I mean most of the player base is going to happily transfer over. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird, dude. Like I'm at like a crossroads right now. Wow, like my guild just downed Mythic Shadhar. We're working on our 5th boss, so we're 4 out of 12 Mythic, so we have the 3 free bosses down. I would even call Shadhar our 4th free boss. And we're finally working on like some mechanically intensive fights, although it is pretty much the same as Heroic, just different positioning. So I'm at a point right now where like I'm thinking about like maybe do I invest in my time in a new alt? Do I go to Classic? I have a bunch of friends that just picked up Classic again that are like going at it, going ham, leveling, trying to at least get characters ready for the Burning Crusade when that launches. I know there's a lot of excitement around that, so it's like what do I do in WoW now once like my weekly chores are done? Do I keep messing around? Like I definitely have a role to play in like helping my friends get prepped for Shadowlands and even still prepping myself, but at the same time maybe I'll dabble in that Classic, get a new level 60 going and get prepped for Burning Crusade as well. And on top of that too, like a bunch of my buddies are now like we don't have a release date yet, but we're making plans for the Shadowlands launch and just gearing up, getting a squad going, maybe pulling an all-nighter, getting to level 60 in one night. Hopefully we'll see what the leveling process is, but really just grinding out that first night and getting that first reset to go well for us.
Yeah, that's the dream, man. Say what you will about BFA, but the seamless transition that they pulled off where like everyone basically, I think we parked in Silithus, then they just turned BFA on, and I think you started by talking to Magni or something like that, but that event getting into, for us, Horde, getting into Dazar'alor, it was actually pretty cool. Like, it was a really cool launch event. I think they did a great job. The zones looked great. All of the flashy stuff that Blizzard can hit you with first out of the gate like it made a good impact. They just obviously didn't have any good systems to back it up, so the game quickly fell off. But we're hoping that Shadowlands will be different. Man, I hope that they pull off as good of a launch so that people feel as hooked as as it was for BFA. I mean, I think the only reason a lot of people raided Uldir was because the launch event got their hooks in them, and then after that raid, most people were like, "Yeah, I'm kind of good."
Yeah, I think like especially like with the launch event, the way it went, like with the worldwide launch, and like everybody thought it was going to be a disaster just based off of past WoW launches specifically, and even like Diablo 3. Like other than that initial lag at the beginning in Silithus and going through Magni and starting that scenario, it wasn't bad. Like you get through like that first half hour to 45 minutes and there was no lag. Like Vol'dun was the first zone I went to and I was questing through there with no issues. And also there wasn't that many people there either, so it was cool to go through. And I don't know if you checked out the video Preach released about like why he's preparing his alts right now for Shadowlands, and like as opposed to like previous expansions where he would just let them sit and not worry about gear. And he made a good point. Shadowlands is going to be a linear expansion, at least at the start, at the launch. You're not going to be able to choose where you go. Everybody's going to be funneled into the same zone. So you're going to be fighting over mobs, and you're going to want every little bit of an edge to get you ahead of the pack. So you're not trying to fight with people, because only like 5 people can tag a mod before it goes gray. So like there's going to be that little bit of competition with the other faction, with your own faction, just trying to level up as fast as you can, and you want to get ahead of that group so you can kind of like be more solo and not fight with people and just kind of cruise at a good pace. And it's a good time to prep alts for that reason. And Preach brought it up, and I didn't even think about it like that, and he made a great point. And that's what I'm going to start doing now in the coming weeks, especially next week with the dungeon event.
Yeah, I think the major point he was making was like you may end up killing your stuff faster, but the point is not really the individual mobs, but getting beyond the pack and getting into a zone where there isn't as much competition, so tagging them won't be as much of an issue. I personally think that's a brilliant idea. I share that same mentality, but I go about it in a different way. When the game launches, it's going to be chaos no matter what, especially considering this will be a pretty linear experience. But the benefit that I have, I'm still in grad school and I'm a degenerate. So when this game launches, I don't need to sleep. I'm just going to continue playing. And as I continue playing through the night, I'm going to end up in a zone late at night when there's not a lot of people there, and get a lot of progress, and hopefully get more progress so that by the time I wake up, I'm still ahead of the pack. I did that for BFA's launch. I think it was 8 hours or something to get to max level. I don't remember, but it was an experience. I wasn't very effective. I didn't have the right add-ons for it, but I'm pretty sure that, we're going to see a really kick-ass leveling experience in Shadowlands. So a part of me wants to rush it just to like get it over with and get into the end game, because that's what everyone wants. But I know with the other characters that I'm bringing up, I might go slow and actually enjoy it and read the quest text and stuff like that as I level maybe the third character up.
Yeah, that's my game plan. I'm gonna rush the first one, and either I'm going to watch all the cinematics and cutscenes on YouTube, or I'm going to go slow on the second or third one and kind of soak in all the content there. But I it depends on the launch date, whether or not I'm gonna have a ton of time to play, and that's what I'm nervous about. Like we don't know where this is headed. Like a Q4 launch, I'll have night school, and am I going to have school that night? Is it going to come on Christmas break? Is it going to get pushed back into 2021? Who knows? And I want to game plan that so bad. Obviously, like BFA didn't go the way I wanted it to, but like I still, I got like 6 levels on night 1, and I would love to get 60 on the first night so I can just, get all my Mythic Zeros done first week and then level another character and maybe do that on two or three characters, but who knows? Like if I could take the time off of work, I'm going to, but I don't think I will.
Yeah, not a ton of stuff this week. Those of you who enjoy other WoW content, I highly recommend checking out IK Edits WoW BFA Best of MDI Cinematic. It's freaking awesome, especially if you played BFA, are playing BFA, you've played Legion even. This is something that is just really cool to watch, so I highly recommend checking that out. As always, we want to thank you guys for listening. Hit us up on Twitter at BarrensChatPod. You can send us an email, barrenschatpod@gmail.com. Check us out on our website, barrenschat.podbean.com, and we will see you guys in the next one.